Good morning, everyone. My name is Fred Combs. I'd like to welcome you to the April meeting of the Lextran Board of Directors. Here to lead the meeting this morning is our Board Chair, Mr. Harding Dowell.
Thank you, Mr. Combs. We will call the meeting to order and we will call the roll. Vice Chair Rogers?
Here.
Mr. Schoninger?
Here.
Mr. Ward?
Here.
Ms. Borges Gonzalez?
Here.
Judge Thurston?
Present.
Dr. Acampo is absent. We do have a quorum. I would like to amend the agenda as written to move the chair's report up. I appreciate the large crowd that we have here today. It shows how much this community cares about transit and how it serves our community. I did want to yield my time to Vice Chair Rogers for a statement.
Thank you. Good morning. We extend our deepest gratitude to Build in prioritizing public transportation as your policy issue this year. This support showcases our community's dedication to Lexington having one of the most robust transportation systems in the country. We are committing to the microtransit study in full, a crucial step in understanding the services and the long-term costs and the full picture of public transportation in Lexington. Like many transit organizations nationwide, we are facing a structural imbalance where our expenses are projected to surpass our revenue in the coming years. This necessitates very tough decisions by this board regarding services reductions or a revenue enhancement. Our focus remains in providing essential services that we are required to mandate by law. This includes both our fixed routes and our paratransit routes. We recognize the significance of these services in our community, especially to the most vulnerable populations relying on paratransit. Exploring microtransit's efficiency in service delivery is vital to us easing the strain on our expanding paratransit needs. As we navigate this challenging scenario, where we as a board must make very tough decisions, we are eager to anticipate further conversations and ensure that we have sustainable revenue and we address our systemic budget imbalance. We thank you so much for everyone who has attended today.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. We will move forward with public comment. I do have a list, and at the top of that list is Councilmember Ellinger.
Good morning, and thank you all for having me. And first of all, I just want to introduce myself. I'm a 10th District resident, but also I serve on the Urban County Council, and I'm also a lawyer in town. And reading that statement, that are you therefore are going to do a feasibility study? Because that's why I'm here, and I wanted to make sure that that's...
We have committed to the microtransit study in full.
That was what I was here to lend my support and voice to, and I just want to thank you all for doing that. I've done research on this. I think it has value and merit, and I'm glad that you're all going to pursue that and look forward to seeing what the study provides, and look forward to, from a council standpoint, to do whatever we can do to make us have the best mass transportation system in America. So thank you all for your service and your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember. Next on the list is Ms. Swanson.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Gail Swanson, and I wrote this before we had any kind of confirmation about what your plans were, but I'm going to read it anyway.
Thank you.
Okay, I've lived in Lexington since 1978. I love Lexington and consider myself very fortunate that 3 of our 6 children and 3 of our 10 grandchildren call Lexington home as well. I've been committed to social justice these past 20 years because of those 6 people. I want them to live in a community that is equitable, just, where community leaders want everyone to thrive and make the best life they can for their family. As an organization, we at Build have probably talked with more people in this community about community issues and injustices than any other organization in the area. Each year, 400 to 500 people meet in groups to talk about what keeps them up at night, and we speak to an additional around 100 or so people individually. What we know from those conversations is that reliable transportation is a huge issue in Lexington. What I'm saying is that we have heard the cries of the people and they say we need reliable transportation. You know, we've worked on some pretty serious issues over the past 20 years, from street violence to mental health to school inequities, and most recently to elder care. And in researching every one of those issues, the top 2 contributing factors that rose to the surface were affordable housing and reliable transportation. Sit with that for a minute. That means that every decision you make about transportation in this city has a profound effect on thousands of people. I suspect what I'm saying to you isn't news. Microtransit or some on-demand transportation service has been mentioned in several recent studies. The MPO's long-range plan that they've put together, recommendation from the mayor's 2020 Racial Justice and Equality report, and your own COA completed in 2019 all mention the need for microtransit or some type of on-demand transportation service. Doing this feasibility study and then following the recommended next steps gives Lextran an opportunity to lead the way in initiating and operating a transportation system that innately addresses what the people of Lexington have needed for far too long. 1/3 of our brothers and sisters lack reliable transportation. That's what, around 100,000 people who need what you can give them. This is an opportunity to lead from the front rather than 2 steps behind because you wait 2 years or 5 years to do the study. This is a problem that will not go away just because we ignore it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Adam Jones. Welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, I first want to, on behalf of Open Door Church and on behalf of Build, want to commend you all for fully funding this study. We fully support that commitment and look forward to the results of that study. Particularly Fred Combs, I know you brought that study to the budget and brought that to the board, and just want to commend you for that work. I've been a pastor at Open Door Church since 2006. I've been in Lexington since then as well. Our congregation, our church particularly works with the refugee population in our city as well as the mental health community in Lexington. And so that means that about 1/3 of our congregation on Sundays do not own a vehicle. And so over the past 20 years, we've seen again and again the struggles that some folks have that don't own a car in our city. Our facility manager, James, he is one of my favorite people. He's also on dialysis 3 times a week. He does depend on wheels. I have unfortunately had to pick him up from dialysis a few times because wheels didn't make it. I've also had to pick up James from the hospital a few times. He's also attempted to use the bus service to get to work at our church, and he is unable to do that. He says it's not been as reliable as he had hoped for his, and the bus stop's about a half mile from our church. And so James is one example. Another couple years back as well, we helped a young lady named Delia who had just moved to Lexington. And she was trying to get on her feet, and so we helped her a little financially to get a place. She found an apartment on Richmond Road, and she got a job at Aramark on Versailles Road. Her shift started at 5 a.m. There was no bus. And so Delia walked every morning, starting at about 3 to get to her job. And I think that microtransit has the potential to create reliable transportation for folks like James and Delia. I'm excited to see the results of the study going forward, and we're excited to, as Build and as Open Door, to work with Lextran in improving the transportation in our city, and I know that's your all's vision as well, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Ms. Sneed.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Belinda Sneed. I'm a member of the Build Board, and I attend Consolidated Baptist Church on Russell Cave Road. I see that you have done the right thing today by fully funding that microtransit study. Members of my congregation feel the impact of poor public transportation every day. Those of us without a car struggle to keep jobs, make appointments, and participate in church and community life. Everyone has a right to transportation. Everyone in Lexington should be able to access public transportation that works for them. This microtransit study isn't just another budget item, it's a recognition of the longstanding hardships felt by so many in our community due to unreliable or inaccessible transportation. And today, you've acknowledged that you've heard the voices of the people and that you're committed to improving their circumstances by looking closer at the need and potential for microtransit. So because you voted, I don't have to urge you now. You have looked beyond the numbers and you've seen the faces of those that you serve. So we know that this study is going to reveal what we already know. So we're glad that you're including the $75,000 for a microtransit study today.
Thank you, Sneed. All right, moving forward into approval of the minutes from the March 2024 board meeting and the April 2024 budget work session. Does anybody have any questions or edits to the minutes? I have one, if nobody else does. In section 3 of the April 2024 work session minutes, I would like to clarify a point in the final paragraph, which currently reads adding back $85,000 that was cut from technology projects and the microtransit study. I'd like to insert $75,000 to clarify that the microtransit study value is what was added back. If there are no other comments, I would entertain a motion to approve both sets of minutes.
So moved.
Thank you, Judge Thurston. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Borges Gonzalez. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. At this time, we have a need for closed session in order to discuss a contractual issue.
Pursuant to KRS 61-810, Section G, for the discussion regarding the provisions of an agency contract and paratransit.
Thank you. In lieu of making all of you leave, we're going to leave. So we're don't expect this to thank you. So Ms. Rogers has moved into closed session. George has seconded. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
The Lextran board took no action during the closed session and will proceed with the planned agenda items.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. First among our action items, we're going to rearrange a bit. We're going to go start with 2024-12, contract for paratransit services.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're bringing forward a resolution today to award a contract for paratransit services to RITP Dev. Our procurement process started in February of 2024. We received proposals in March. We had a staff evaluation committee that reviewed these proposals. We had 3 responses and chose to evaluate and interview 2 proposers. At the end of the day, RITP Dev seemed to be the best fit for us moving forward. We have included the pricing structure in your board packet, and we would like to recommend RITP Dev for the award.
Okay. I did want to make a few notes just for everyone's information. And those who may have joined the board since this contract was initiated. So that was October of 2022, and you'll recall that prior to that, the service was provided by the Red Cross. That ended up being an emergency procurement because the Red Cross decided to exit that market altogether. And at that time, the metrics for service were already in significant decline. RITP Dev took over, and we will say that performance was not what we expected it to be. Our goal with both fixed route and paratransit, I believe, is 90% on-time performance. They started out between 50 and 60. They have since risen into the 80s over the last several months, and we've seen significant improvements on excessively late trips and missed trips. Obviously, any missed trip or any excessively late trip we deem unacceptable as a board, and I think unacceptable to this community. And what we have done and what we will continue to do, as I understand it with this new contract, is to keep with and institute the infractions and penalties for poor performance, specifically targeting around late trips and missed trips. So I think we're on the right path. I think this is still the right organization to lead this part of our service, which is required by law. And we look forward to continuing to collaborate with them for improved service. And I would support the continuing of this contract and the award to RITP Dev. Any questions about the contract, its terms, or this resolution?
I have 2 minor questions, so all those in the audience can also be aware, because many of you spoke about paratransit. First, Fred, can you talk about what by law we have to provide for paratransit and why this is something legally we have to provide?
So paratransit services are deemed to be complementary to our fixed route. So if by nature of a disability someone cannot access our fixed route service, we are required to then offer them paratransit, which is a door-to-door on-demand service.
Thank you. And that is by the FTA that demands that we provide that service.
Correct.
And then in total, our budget is roughly $8 million in the next fiscal year. And that is a significant increase over previous 2-3 years ago. And it's about a third of our budget.
Yes.
23, 24%.
Yeah, it's about a fourth of the budget.
A fourth of our budget. So also for those to be aware, this is one of the most significant expenses of our budget and continues to rise as we provide the most vulnerable population this valuable service.
Any other questions or thoughts?
Make a motion to approve resolution 2024-12.
Thank you, George. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Borges Gonzalez. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Second, we'll move to resolution 2024-13, the fiscal year 2025 operating budget and capital plan.
All right, thank you. The resolution we have brought forth is the approval of our operating budget and capital plan as we adjusted from our finance committee and work session conversations. Again, our mission is to serve people in the community with mobility solutions. We do feel like this budget gets at our mission. As the discussion today, it does include the $75,000 for a microtransit feasibility study. I think we have evaluated the budget, where we stand with the budget and this current budget, so I will be happy to hear any comments moving forward.
Yeah, and I think it is important to note that this is a balanced budget, and that was done at the direction of the Finance Committee and members of this board. I think it's important that we show that we're meeting that commitment, and I do think it's worth underlining what Ms. Rogers said earlier, which is that tough decisions are already having to be made at the budget level. That in order to balance our budget, cuts to expenses did have to be made. At this time, that doesn't include any cuts to service, and doesn't include cuts to our important operators and maintenance staff. It does include the reduction of one administrative position. That's a non-union administrative position. So all that is to say is that this management team has done an excellent job in making hard decisions and working within the funds that we expect to have. This is not a pie in the sky balanced budget. I think it is a realistic balanced budget, but it is a tough one to make. So I commend the work of this group and our management team in getting us there.
And the Finance Committee.
And the Finance Committee.
And just to add, we will continue to continue to reiterate, our expenses exceed our revenue, and we have to make tough decisions on how to keep that balance so that Lextran is sustainable long into the future.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve the budget?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Judge Thurston. Is there a second? Thank you, George. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And finally, 2024-11, radio purchasing and maintenance.
Good morning. I'm here to present the resolution to award a contract for radio purchasing and maintenance. We had one qualified proposer. This is the current incumbent for this service, AMK. This is 2 years with a 1-year option. This provides the maintenance and support for the existing radios that we have. We do not plan on buying additional radios at this time, but this contract does allow us to if we need replacements or if we need to add any radios. Their home office is located in Ohio, but they do have a local office in Lexington. We are recommending for AMK to receive this contract. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Motion to approve.
I wouldn't know what to ask.
I did have one question, sorry. The discount structure, what's that based on? And is it likely to change, or does it change over the course of this contract?
Deanna, can you help with that?
Yes. I'm not sure what it's based on. I believe they did that to us because we're a government entity.
Okay.
As far as whether or not it will change, as far as I'm aware, no, it's not going to change throughout the entire contract.
Okay.
I'll second.
Thank you, Sue. Jamie motion, George second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Then, let's see, is there a change order report this month? I don't believe there is. Okay, any old business?
No.
Any new business?
Nope. We need to go back and do the performance.
Yes, so then our performance and financial reports. Ms. Elliott.
Morning. So we will start the performance report this morning with our mission. We serve people and our community with mobility solutions. And March was quite busy. We had the privilege of celebrating everyone with Transit Worker Appreciation the week of March 18th. The official day was the 18th, but we just kept it going all week long to remind people how important they are. We had coffee truck, donut truck, cookie trucks, and then there were small gifts for staff as well. Several employees attended the Metropolitan Transportation Plan public meeting. There were several of those. We went to the one at the Senior Center on March 25th. And just a note that the MTP 2050 will be presented at the Transportation Policy Committee this afternoon and voted on. We also hosted the FTA AIM Grant Evaluation Committee March 13th through 15th. There were 5 how to ride sessions and 2 regional job fairs that we attended. Our new bus stop signs have shown a really fun and interesting piece of information. I am ready next month to break 10,000, but you can see a pretty significant increase in the number of usages. So we haven't seen a great decrease in the call volume. Call volume dropped at first a little bit, maybe about 1,000 calls a month. But it has consistently gone up with that text for next, and that information was added to the signs when our new signs were put out into service. They are all out now, so we have seen a great return on that for folks in the community, and it's a great way to not have to talk to anyone if that's what someone's, some people are like, I don't want to call. So we did receive 6 commendations in March for operators, Michael Gay, Daryl Sebastian, Lenko Vanev, Latasha Hart, and LJ Hasty. And also just a general thank you that I wanted to share. They said, thanks so much. If the service had not been available, there have been several times that I may have been in a bad situation. So it's always nice to just hear someone's gratitude for the service. So for the month of March, ridership was about 323,000. So on a March to March, that constituted about a 3% increase. And then continuing with about a 10% increase for the fiscal year to date. For paratransit ridership, it was back over 14,000 in March, and about that constitutes about a 10% increase March to March, with a 9% increase fiscal year to date as well. And here are some of those numbers. Paratransit ridership did go up we saw weekday, Saturday, and Sunday ridership all go up in March. One of the things that we also wanted to touch on, and as Mr. Dowell said, this is our sort of three-month rolling average of on-time performance since January of 2022. And the reason it's presented that way is it takes some of those distracting peaks out of it. But on-time performance from March to March has had that 10% increase overall. You can see on this graph, the gray represents, it's a little dark, so it's a little bit hard to see, but if you look at October 2022 before, that's the gray line. It's when American Red Cross was operating, and there's a significant decline in on-time performance. And then the green line represents RATP Dev's operations. And so we have seen steady increases. It's getting better overall. And that the 3-month rolling average constitutes about a 13% increase overall. So just wanted to show that and sort of demonstrate some of the things visually that we've been talking about.
And I want to pause, because every month that I've been on the board since January 2022, we have discussed this number.
Yes.
So since it is a topic for the public, I want to discuss that we are discussing this every single month at our board meeting, and it's a high priority of this board. So thank you again for showing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any questions about this before I move on?
And I'll say it's not 13, it's 13 percentage points. That's
13 percentage points, I'm sorry,
It's
yes.
even better than 13%.
So as far as safety is concerned, there were 6 preventable accidents this month on fixed route and 2 on paratransit. There were no workers' compensation claims, and the injury frequency rate was 0. And we looked back, and the last time that something like this occurred was in 2019, so it's been a while, but we're pleased with that.
I wanted to ask about the preventable accidents, because that's a pretty high number.
Okay.
Right?
I may not be able to answer all of those. John, do you have any information about the March preventable accidents?
I don't, but I could before you.
We will get that information to you. Maintenance operated 13,347 miles in between road calls, and we're at 100% again for their preventative maintenance inspections for the month. Does
Thank
anyone have any questions?
While we transition, I want to introduce a couple of new faces. We have Jessica Pence, our Executive Admin Assistant. She's joining us to help support all the admin team and to do some functions that are outlined in our bylaws for the board as well. Also, Mr. Gregory Butler, he has joined us as the Planning and Community Development Manager. So he's working with Emily in her department.
Welcome to both of you.
Thank you. And also, Michael Birch, stand up. RATP Dev Regional General Manager, Regional Vice President.
Yes.
Yeah, gotcha.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you for being here today. It's really important.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
go over our financials for March. We are 9 months through the fiscal year. We are at a good balance at this time of the year, since we will receive very little property taxes between now and November. So our balance is good at this point in the fiscal year. I will be glad to answer any questions on this before we move to the revenue versus expenses. Okay.
Thank you.
Revenue versus expenses for the month of March. Property tax is looking strong at this point. We have exceeded where we were this time last year by about almost $1 million. Our passenger revenue is $26,000 over budget and higher than this time last year. So that's always good news. Our federal funding, that is a timing issue that we've talked about the last few months. We're hoping that money comes in before June 30th, as well as our state funding. Our wages and fringe benefits are still under budget at this time. We do have several vacancies that we are still trying to fill, but we are running classes almost weekly now, so we're filling some of those positions. Our professional services, that is some of our contract maintenance that we'll be doing. Part of that this spring, we'll start cleaning carpets, cleaning windows, things like that, so you'll see some of that being spent. Materials and supplies, the majority of that is our bus parts, which is a little bit over at this time, but nothing to be concerned about right now. Our diesel fuel is still looking good. We have the monthly average for the month of March was $2.77, and the year-to-date average was $2.86. Our CNG diesel gallon equivalent is still low at $1.29, so that we are very happy with that. And when we get more CNG buses, we will see the savings from diesel fuel. So, our insurance, we added new buses, so you'll see that that is a little bit over budget. Fuel taxes is over budget, but anything that we pay in fuel taxes, we get part of that back. Paratransit right now is running pretty close to budget. We're about $70,000 over budget. We're a little bit higher than we were last year. And dues and subscription, that is a timing. We have the big American Public Transit Conference coming up. Actually, I think it starts this weekend. So we have several people going to that, and that's why that timing is off for those preparing for that trip. But I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Who from our group is going to the ACTA conference?
Jason Dow, he is he has already left. He is on the International Rodeo Committee that John Givens used to be on, so he'll be preparing for that. We have the rodeo winner that will be leaving this weekend. That's Mike Burnett, and he'll be participating in that. Taz is going, and Dale is going. So they always look forward to that, and we wish Mike the best in his competition.
How does he do in the nationals?
He's done really well. He has he's been in the top, I think the top 20. Is that correct? He's been in the top 20 since he's been competing. So we're really hoping that he does well this year.
And how many years in a row has he won the local?
Oh, 7,
7,
6 or 7. Yeah, it's either 6 or 7. We said we were going to have to start naming the award after him or something.
No, that's great.
And he also beat John and Jason pretty bad.
Oh yeah, he did beat John and Jason pretty bad. So
That's a good word.
A couple budget questions. So great news that our property tax is coming in slightly higher. We did budget this year again for a 3% increase in the budget that we just passed.
correct.
We had talked about as a board, was that 3% too aggressive or too conservative, but we felt confident with the 3% increase. The federal fund is showing us almost $6 million deficit. Is that an accounting issue, or are we really behind $6 million in federal funds?
It's a timing issue of when the grants are approved, and the money for this year came out late, and so it's just a timing issue. There's no problem in getting those funds.
And that's our formula funds that we are
Yes.
guaranteed to get. But then we have been backfilling our budget with all of our COVID funds we've been getting over the last few years, and that's almost completely.
That is completely gone. That $786,000 it was the very last of the COVID funding.
And that's how we've been balancing our budget the last couple of years and providing the same level of service.
Yes.
Our total federal funds through COVID,
It was over 24 million.
So that 24 million that we got just because of COVID has been helping us balance our budget. But now we have to make those decisions that we didn't have to make a couple years ago.
Correct. That COVID money let us pay for operating expenses that our normal funding does not allow.
And a lot of public transit around the nation have been already cutting services because they ran through their COVID money really fast and now are cutting services.
Correct.
Just so we know where we compare nationwide to other public transit
Yes.
institutions. And then our wages, I think it was on the other slide, how many vacancies do we have?
We have about 20 bus operators. We have, I think there's 7 positions in maintenance. We have filled all of our administrative positions, but we are still down roughly 25 to 30 with maintenance and operations.
And when we're down 20 bus drivers, what does that do to our service?
It makes everyone else work that much harder with overtime, and we have people working a lot of hours
And
and
there's
a
also
lot
a
of
risk
overtime.
of missed service, missed trips.
And yes.
So as a board, we
Unfortunately,
really need to focus on first making sure we get the 20 bus drivers to just be able to provide the basic service for our fixed route.
Yes.
Because right now we're not able to do that.
Correct.
More, we all know this, more of this, I'm just making this public information of where we stand as an organization. And then I think in the professional services, was this, where is our upgrades to the downtown facility?
That's part of the capital budget,
Okay,
and then I'll have updates on that when we get to proposed items.
so that is really exciting, those upgrades to the downtown facility, that's been in the works for several years. And then our paratransit is over budget.
Yes.
Are we going to need a budget amendment for that?
I don't think so at this time unless something unusual happens April through June.
Which that's that line item. I'm glad you brought that up. Paratransit is interesting in the fact that as we continue to improve service, that cost is going to go up.
Yes.
Right. So
So the more people that get it, we pay a flat fee plus a dollar amount per ride.
correct.
That's what we just
Yes.
passed.
Yes.
And so,
And that line item also includes the fuel for paratransit, the paratransit assessments, and also some vehicle repairs for the vehicles that we own.
and so in total, our change in net position, we were projecting to have, it says our actual, we're a little bit over, but we were supposed to be even more over than what we are.
Yes. Yes, we are currently, yes, we're currently 1.8 million under budget.
But we had thought we would be in an even better position.
Yes.
Thank you, Nikki.
Well, any more questions?
A lot of that position though is the federal funds.
Yes.
Thank you, Nikki. Let's look at upcoming agenda items.
All right, so next month, we are planning a resolution for paratransit fuel and transit advertising, and we are working on lining some things up for our transit center construction renovation project. Again, we had that bid on the street. We had to repost that. Chances are the big resolution will happen in June, but we might have some smaller resolutions related to that coming up in either May or June.
And just to clarify, we reposted it because we could receive no bids.
We
the first
received
time.
no bids the first time through.
And we were able to go to those contractors who had pulled plans and ask them why they didn't bid.
And hopefully we have rectified those.
What were their reasons?
Logistics related to the dumpster, location of the dumpster.
That'll do it. Gotta have one.
So this, what will the public notice in how that changes downtown?
We'll start public outreach. Once we make sure that we've got a good vendor lined up, we'll start communications about how things are going to change, when things are going to change, because, you know, we lean on the contractor to help us schedule things out. So much of that communication will happen as we move towards the summer.
Did we stipulate a schedule in the RFP?
We gave them a limit of 180 days.
Okay.
And no, we didn't stipulate the specific start time. a specific time, but there is that 180-day window before
And do we have liquidated damages should they exceed that?
we do.
Okay.
Did I say that correctly? I thought so. All right. And I believe that is all that I have.
Okay. Anything else from our members of the board? We stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.